This is Orlando Sentinel Now.
Hello, it's Wednesday, August 11th. Rich Pope here with Mike Lafferty and Matt Palm. They have our topics we're going to touch on today, and we're going to be talking about masks in school and attention's building there. Also, some theater news from Matt. We're going to hit a couple stories, but one where Mad Cow Theater is getting some backlash. We'll find out more about that one. But let's start here with Mike Lafferty. So back to school happening in the region pretty much yesterday, today, and there has been some backlash and tension rising between mask wearing between the state and local governments. What's going on, Mike?
School districts around the state are faced with a big decision. What do they do about having kids wear masks to school during, an outbreak of this COVID variant that is making a lot of people sick, including more kids now. And of course, the decision is complicated by the fact that the governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, has issued an executive order that says that they cannot require kids to wear masks, and that parents should be allowed to make that decision.
And I'll be signing an executive order which directs the Florida Department of Education and Department of Health to issue emergency rules protecting the rights of parents to make this decision about wearing masks for their children. We think that that's the most fair way to do it.
So what's happened is a couple of school districts have decided to just outright defy the governor. In this editorial we wrote, we applauded them for it. Initially, it was 3 school districts that have just said, no, we're going to require kids to wear a mask unless a doctor provides a reason not to. Those 3 districts were Broward, Alachua, and Leon counties. I say were because Leon County last night decided to go ahead and create a parent opt-out, probably in response to Governor DeSantis's threats to withhold money from school districts that don't obey his order.
And this opt-out is something that Orange County, Seminole County are doing as well. And it seems like a way that they could kind of strike a balance between the two. But this whole pandemic has pretty much been this wrestling match between the state and local governments. And we see it play out, tensions building. It's getting to the point where it's getting a little ugly.
Yeah, it really has. The local governments want to, take their own public health steps when it's necessary, based in part on what's happening on the ground in their counties. But, through a series of executive orders and laws that have been passed by the legislature and signed by the governor, their hands have been tied to a large extent. I think what we're just seeing in the schools is some pushback on that. The stakes are high for these schools. If they have an outbreak in a classroom or a school, it could totally disrupt their whole school year. If they have, masses of kids that have to go into quarantine, the consequences of that are not great. So they're trying to use what tools they have to protect kid, and one of the only tools they have are wearing masks, which are not a perfect solution. I don't think anybody argues they are. But as we say in the editorial, they're what we have. And so now, yeah, they've been told they can't do it. They've been threatened by the governor with financial consequences, specifically docking the pay of school board members and superintendents who allow this decision to go forward. So they're in a tough position, and we would like to stop writing about Ron DeSantis, to be perfectly honest, but he keeps giving us reasons to do it. And this is a good reason to write an editorial about a governor who just simply has been kind of missing in action during this latest outbreak when it comes to finding public health solutions. All he's been doing is focusing on trying to tie the hands of governments that do want to do something. And it's a real bind that they're in.
All right. Well, you can read that editorial right now on OrlandoSentinel.com. And as Mike says, it's a tricky one. It's a hard one. We'll move forward here to Matt Palm, and we're going to talk about Mad Cow Theater getting some backlash from some activists wanting some change in the leadership. What's going on, Matt?
Morning, Rich. Well, it's more than a little change in the leadership. They want to outdo the entire leadership of Mad Cow Theater. And these activists come from a group called Central Florida Entertainment Advocacy. They have mostly up till now focused on issues of inclusion and diversity and equality in the arts.
This is not a moment. It's a movement.
CFEA. CFEA.
CFEA.
CFEA.
Equity.
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 Diversity. Inclusion.
But as their leadership told me, we'll stand up for anyone who has an issue. And it's pretty common knowledge that a lot of actors have had issues with Mad Cow Theater over the years. And not just actors, other staff members, behind the scenes people. The theater has long struggled to pay their people on time. And this finally has reached a point this year where people are calling for big change. The entire board of directors, they would like to see replaced, and they would like to see the executive director replaced as well.
It's interesting you mentioned the grievances before, but this is, say, the first time where it's all came out publicly and just been made public to where individuals can see it happening.
Well, there have been outbursts over the years, I guess outbursts might be the word, on social media, where people will report they haven't been paid. A lot of other actors and theater workers join in. A lot of actors and theater workers will not work at that theater anymore, which could, be detrimental, of course, in the long term to cut down on your talent pool. But this is the first time a major organization, I would say, has publicly made a call of this nature, a call so big as to ask for the resignations of those who are actually leading the theater, which does make it a big deal. And, this is no fly-by-night group. CFEA has been very active, very vocal for more than a year now, and they have a big following and a lot of respect from the arts community.
Yeah, what are reactions from the leadership at the theater? It seems like they're going for a new programming, new additions to the way they operate. What do they say about it?
Well, they don't deny that they have struggled with paying people, that their finances have been not, in the best shape, and that they have made mistakes. They admit them. They are less clear about what they might do to address these concerns by CFEA. And again, the CFEA concerns go beyond the financial implications. They are looking at a wider picture of artists feel uncomfortable to work there, especially artists of color. They feel the theater has not appropriately given credit to performers of color or workers of color for their contributions to the theater. They really are looking for a change in the whole atmosphere of the theater.
Yeah, it's interesting, too, looking at your article. It talks about Mad Cow Theater and just the history of their location and just their funding. And it seems like it's been a bit of a rocky road for them all the way along.
It has, and they got a big boost when they were given a new home on Church Street, and that comes through an arrangement with the city of Orlando, which provides that space to them rent-free. They do have other fees associated with that space, but they have not paid them, and there's been a long-running dispute for, I would say, a decade now, about who still owes money on the actual construction of the theater there. The city and the theater both say they've been talking about it, but they've been telling me that for years, and nothing ever gets resolved. And this gives ammunition to a lot of the theater's critics who say, why do they have this prime deal where they have this great location, they don't pay rent, they're not even being held to pay the other fees associated with the space, and then there are plenty of arts groups out there who, could use a break like that.
Yeah, interesting one there. You can read about that one on OrlandoSentinel.com, but I'm not letting you off the hook. We have one more with you, and we're going to talk about Orlando Rep, and it looks like they're shifting their demo down, and this is to babies? This is a joke, right?
Well, no, and you'd say, how could Orlando Repertory Theater, of all the theaters in town, shift their demographic down? They already serve elementary school students and up to high school students. But yes, they are looking at the complete childhood experience. That's always sort of been a goal of theirs. And there is a growing trend to theater for the youngest of the young, theater for babies, theater for children under 5, infants, toddlers, the people who you don't want to see sitting behind you when you come into a theater and hear them crying and squirming. But here, they're welcome to do that. It is a new program, Theater for the Very Young, it is called. And their first production in that series is going on now. It's called The Teddy Bear's Picnic. And the setup is, even from the very basic setup, is designed for these small children. They don't have to stay in a seat. The groups who come in, each individual party has their own blanket, like they're really at a picnic, and they are on the ground. The kids can crawl, sit, lay, whatever they want to do. They're given their own picnic basket, so they can sort of play along with the action on stage. When it's, again, the teddy bears picnic, so when the bears on stage are pulling things out of their picnic basket, the small children are encouraged to also pull similar items out of their picnic basket. And they're short. It's 30 minutes, but it can introduce children to a lot of concepts, not just concepts of art and theater, which of course would be sort of a subconscious idea at that age, but ideas like cause and effect, ideas like following along, the kind of thing that small children are still learning how to process as they learn how to socialize at that age.
Places like in Europe have been doing this for a while now. We're behind the curve.
Yeah, that's what the artistic director of the theater said. He said, in Europe, this is sort of a given that there are so many benefits to the development of small children's minds by introducing them to this sort of art and teaching them concepts through the arts this way. The show involves not only actors, but puppets. So there's like an added element of imagination, of, understanding the relationship of pretend, all sorts of things that help babies and young children develop. But he said we're about 20 years behind what they do with programs like this in Europe.
Interesting. Let me ask you, as a theater critic, if you go review this one, are you going to be giving dirty looks to the individuals next to you while they're sitting on the blanket making noise and rustling their fruit snacks? Like, how do you handle this one?
Rich, I would never give dirty looks to anyone in the theater. Oh, wait, that might not be entirely true.
No, you do the whole finger.
A stare. I would not. But I would probably be too busy dreaming about, macaroni salad and fried chicken if I was at a pretend picnic. It'd probably put me in the mind of wanting a real picnic.
All right. Well, that's a good one you can read about right now on OrlandoSentinel.com. That's all our topics for today. Appreciate you being with us. We're going to push pause for today. We'll be back here at noon tomorrow. Until next time, I'm Rich, Matt, and Mike. Everyone have a great day. We'll see you soon.
Watch Orlando Sentinel Now live every weekday at noon on our Facebook page and on OrlandoSentinel.com.